been 3 months into 2024, and we haven't done any cross-country trips.
No, I'm tired of being at home.
2023, we drove cross-country, we flew across country twice, and we drove cross-country once. So that was a lot of driving. And 3 months in, I mean, it's March. We
Get
need to
out of
do we
Dodge.
need to do a cross-country trip. So
Okay.
I've been thinking.
Yeah. And
So, how about we go? How about we go from the Colorado River to the Colorado Springs?
awesome. I want to go.
Yeah,
Let's go.
let's figure out exactly. Well, we got the Colorado River here, and we know we're not going to go to the headwaters of the Colorado because it's March and
Right.
it's winter in Colorado,
And it's gonna snow.
and it
It's
might
gonna
snow.
snow.
It could snow.
Yeah.
I guess we'll see. We're going to chance it. So, but let's go from the Colorado River, and we'll go through and we'll hook on I-40, and we'll hook
Okay.
on a little piece of I-66, Route 66,
Route
and
66.
then
Dad would like it.
we'll take it over to Albuquerque,
All
and then
right.
we'll take a left-hand turn at Albuquerque. Bugs Bunny always missed it,
You
but we'll
did.
take the left-hand turn at Albuquerque,
Okay.
and then we'll wind up going up to Colorado Springs.
Sounds good.
And then let's see if we can find the springs at Colorado Springs.
Sounds good.
Well, let's go.
Let's go.
Our journey begins early the next morning, just as the sun was rising. We head due east along Arizona Highway 68 towards Union Pass, which marks the summit crossing of the Black Mountains at an elevation of 3,500 feet after the long 12-mile climb from the valley floor. We have gained a little over 3,000 feet from our starting point on the Colorado River. Make sure you keep your eyes open for remnants of mining activity in the area dating back to the 1860s. Some of the earliest mining activity in Mojave County took place on the western slopes of the Black Mountains in the area of Union Pass. Captain Lorenzo Sitgreaves and a group of mapmakers, naturalists, artists, and military personnel are responsible for establishing the route and crossing Union Pass on their way to the Colorado River. Much of this route would later be followed by the railroad, the National Old Trails Road, and US 66. Sitgreaves Pass on historic Route 66 near Oatman, Arizona, just to the south of Union Pass where we are about ready to cross, was named after Captain Sitgreaves in 1858. As we cross over Union Pass, we enter the Sacramento Valley of northwestern Arizona. The valley lies just east of the Black Mountains and west of Kingman, Arizona. The community of Golden Valley lies in the Sacramento Valley with a population of over 8,800. The community was named after a company from California which developed most of the land into 2.5-acre parcels. Initially, the 2.5-acre parcels sold for $695, $10 down and $10 per month. How about those prices? Making our way across Coyote Pass in the Surbat Mountains, we have entered the outskirts of Kingman, Arizona. Here we will exit Highway 68 and merge onto Interstate 40 to Seligman. It is at this location the interstate cuts through, in dramatic fashion, the Peach Springs Tuff. a vast volcanic layer of volcanic ash that was deposited nearly 18 million years ago from volcanic eruptions from the Silver Creek caldera to the west, near present-day Bullhead City, Arizona. The ash layers are very prominent in the road cut, as well as textbook examples of faulting of the ash layers. These road cuts truly are a must-stop for anybody interested in the natural history of the area. Kingman was founded in 1882 and is located in the Wallapai Valley between the Surbat Mountains and the Wallapai Mountains. It is named after civil engineer Louis Kingman, who supervised the building of the railroad west from Winslow, Arizona. With its modest beginnings as a railroad siding, Kingman has flourished over the years with a U.S. Army Air Force field during World War II, mining activity in the surrounding area, a Ford Motor Company proving ground that is currently a Chrysler proving ground, as well as a robust tourism industry along Old Route 66 and Interstate 40. Kingman also hosts the annual Andy Devine Days in celebration of Andy Devine, a Hollywood actor who was raised in Kingman. He had many Western film credits, most notably as the sidekick of Roy Rogers in 10 feature films. Moving east from Kingman, we continue to travel along Interstate 40 towards Saligman, Arizona. Here, the topography slowly begins to rise as we approach the Mogollon Rim and the Colorado Plateau. The road cuts expose layers of volcanic rock that were erupted from the margins of the Colorado Plateau during the last 25 million years, some areas being much more recent, as we will see as we get closer to Flagstaff, Arizona, a little further on down the road. Enjoy the many lava cap buttes, as well as the many road cuts featuring stacked lava flows with scorched soil profiles. It makes for very interesting driving in the high desert, knowing this area is considered an active, albeit dormant, volcanic field. We're going to be exiting Interstate 40 here shortly to step back into time and relive the glory years of historic Route 66 as it joins Interstate 40 at Seligman, Arizona. Seligman is located in the northern section of the Chino Valley and is a popular destination along historic U.S. Route 66. In fact, it is one of the few locations I know where you can still visit an A&W restaurant. There is nothing like an original A&W root beer, in my opinion. Before Route 66 made the entire region famous, Seligman was the longtime homeland of the Havasupai people, who had a settlement in the area. The town site was on the Beals Wagon Road and was a stage stop on the old Mojave Road. The town was originally called Prescott Junction, but the name was changed in 1886 to Seligman after Jesse Seligman, one of the founders of J&W Seligman and Company of New York, who helped finance the railroad lines in the area. Although passenger trains ceased stopping at Seligman in 1984, the railway lines still carry numerous freight trains and a non-stop Amtrak train. As we drive through the Seligman Commercial Historic District, we are transported back to Seligman's heyday right after World War II, when returning veterans and other motorists hit the road and made the Southwest a popular tourist destination. The historic district was designated a historic highway by the state of Arizona in 1978 and placed on the National Register of Historic Places in 2005. Seligman is the first stop heading west on the longest uninterrupted stretch of historic Route 66, running around 160 miles to Topak, Arizona, on the east side of the Colorado River. Here we see the Black Cat Bar, which was rebuilt in 1963 and once called Jolly's Black Cat Cafe. The Copper Cart was built in 1952 and currently houses a store and not the classic diner it once did. The historic Seligman Sundries was built in 1905 and was originally a theater and a dance hall. In 1930, it was converted to a drugstore and fountain soda shop. It is now a coffee house and curio shop. The Rusty Bolt was built in 1933 with the building being used as a dry cleaners, a 24-hour restaurant, a hardware store, and a curio shop. Lastly, The Snowcap Drive-In was built in 1953 with scrap lumber the owner collected while working for the Santa Fe Railroad. Seligman truly is a great spot to stop while you travel historic Route 66. A little further up the road, we find ourselves in the flagstone capital of the world, Ashfork, Arizona. Flagstone is usually a form of sandstone, a sedimentary rock, that is split into layers and is composed of feldspar and quartz. The cementing agent in the sandstone holding the flagstone together is usually composed of silica, calcite, or iron oxide. The typical flagstone colors are red, blue, and tan, with a rock color being derived from the cement holding the sandstone grains together. Ashfork was established as a railroad siding in 1882. It was named in 1883 by F.W. Smith, General Superintendent of the railroad, in reference to a grove of ash trees in the area. A fire ravaged the community in 1893, and the entire town of Ashfork burned to the ground. It was rebuilt on the opposite side of the railroad tracks from its original location, where it remains today. Leaving Ashfork behind, we make the short climb over the Mogollon Rim to the Colorado Plateau. The Mogollon Rim forms the southern edge of the Colorado Plateau in Arizona and is named after Don Juan Ignacio Flores Mogollon, the Spanish governor of New Mexico from 1712 to 1715. As we venture to the top of the rim, you will notice a distinct change of forest types. Land south of the Mogollon Rim has an elevation of 4,000 to 5,000 feet above sea level, with the rim rising to around 7,500 feet above sea level. Juniper and cedar forests abruptly change to vast ponderosa pine forests once we crest the rim and find ourselves on the Colorado Plateau. Look around. The rocks deposited here saw the rise of the dinosaurs. You will also notice in many places the landscape is capped or buried by vast lava flows that have erupted along the margins of the Mogollon Rim. The Colorado Plateau has had quite the geological history. At one time, the entire geological province, now known as the Colorado Plateau, has been located near a continental margin. It has been smashed between two colliding land masses. It has been covered by shallow seas at the end of the reign of the dinosaurs, uplifted once again, rotated, and been subject to continued volcanic activity as recent as 1,100 years ago. It is little wonder why it is as spectacular to look at as it is, as it has been shaped by every force on planet Earth. The Colorado Plateau is a microplate that continues to bob up and down and rotate as the North American plate continues its western migration. The margin, the Mogollon Rim, is an area of weakness that allows molten material to erupt onto the surface from below the plateau as the Colorado Plateau rotates and is dragged west with the North American plate. All this geological activity caused the land to rise, and the rivers flowing through the region began to cut deep canyon channels. The most well-known of these rivers, the Colorado River, carved and continues to shape the Grand Canyon just to the north of our location to this day. Our first town we encounter as we make our way across the Colorado Plateau is Williams, Arizona, dubbed the Gateway to the Grand Canyon. It is home to the Grand Canyon Railroad, which will take you on a railway adventure to the Grand Canyon Village on the south rim of the Grand Canyon. I would highly recommend this fun travel experience to the Grand Canyon, as we did this when our kids were much younger. It was a great experience. They even offer a Polar Express experience in the winter months filled with music and hot chocolate, of course. Williams was established in 1881 and named after William Shirley Old Bill Williams, a trapper, scout, and mountain man who lived in the area. The large mountain directly to the south is named Bill Williams Mountain. Williams was the last city whose section of Route 66 was bypassed. On October 13, 1984, Interstate 40 was opened around the town, and newspapers the next day reported the essential end of Route 66. The following year, Route 66 was decommissioned. As we approach Flagstaff, Arizona, many people believe they crossed the Continental Divide based on a sign that identifies the Arizona Divide. The Arizona Divide is not the Continental Divide. The Continental Divide, or Great Divide, divides North America such that the waters on the eastern side of the Great Divide drain towards the Atlantic Ocean, while the waters on the western side of the Great Divide drain towards the Pacific Ocean. The Continental Divide does run through New Mexico, as we shall soon see, but it does not run through Arizona. The Arizona Divide, as the sign identifies, is a ridge marked with a road sign displaying an elevation of 7,335 feet. From this point, water that originates in the area either flows north or northwest into the Colorado River, or south or southwest into the Gila River. Continuing on beyond the Arizona Divide, we find ourselves in Flagstaff, Arizona, home to the highest point in Arizona, Humphreys Peak, at an elevation of 12,637 feet above sea level. Humphreys Peak is the highest and most prominent peak of the dormant volcanoes of the San Francisco volcanic field. The last eruption from this volcanic field took place roughly 1,000 years ago and created Sunset Crater, a cinder cone just north of the city. While Sunset Crater is an extinct cone, the much larger San Francisco volcanic field is considered a dormant volcanic area. Flagstaff was originally known as Antelope Springs, after a spring at the base of a nearby hill. The name Flagstaff comes from an actual flag staff made from a pine tree that was erected at the spring. Flagstaff is also home to the Lowell Observatory, which was established in 1894. It is one of the oldest observatories in the United States and was designated a National Historic Landmark in 1965. It was at the Lowell Observatory that the dwarf planet Pluto was discovered in 1930 by Clyde Tombaugh. Leaving Flagstaff, we travel across the high plains of the Colorado Plateau. Our next destination is unique to Arizona and represents the best preserved feature of its kind in the world. It is designated as a National Natural Landmark. The National Natural Landmark Program is administered by the National Park Service and recognizes the best examples of biological and geological features in both public and private ownership. As of January 2021, 602 sites have been added to the National Registry of Natural Landmarks. The registry includes significant features in 48 states, American Samoa, Guam, Puerto Rico, and the U.S. Virgin Islands. National natural landmarks are nationally significant sites owned by a variety of land stewards, and their participation in this federal program is voluntary. All right, here we stopped at the Meteor Crater rest area along I-40. Meteor Crater is a natural landmark here across the Colorado Plateau in Arizona. It formed about 50,000 years ago, and it hit during the Pleistocene. If you would have been here in Arizona at the time, you would have seen a climate that was vastly different than the Colorado Plateau today. Ground sloths used to walk around in this area. Right behind me is where the Meteor Crater is located. Scientists estimate that the body that came in was a 50-meter, or about 160 feet across, iron nickel meteorite. It hit somewhere going 45 to 29,000 miles an hour, and it created a huge hole in the distance that is now referred to as Meteor Crater. It is not a national monument or anything like that. You do have to pay to get into it. But it is definitely, if you're coming across I-40 and you see the Meteor Crater exit, it is definitely worth going over and taking a look at. Most of the time we only get visions of what these things look like by looking at the moon, but right here we have an impact that's only about 50,000 years old right here across the Colorado Plateau in Arizona. One of the most iconic locations in Arizona, and a must-stop if you are ever traveling this section of Interstate 40, is approaching. Yes, it's Winslow, Arizona, a small town with a population of roughly 9,000, 57 miles east of Flagstaff and 240 miles west of Albuquerque, New Mexico. It was either named after a railroad owner from the late 1800s or a local prospector. I like the local prospector story as it adds a little bit more mystique to the location. Winslow achieved international fame in 1972 in the Eagles' Jackson Browne song, Take It Easy, that has the line, "Standing on the corner in Winslow, Arizona." Yes, we are going to make a stop in downtown Winslow and stand on the corner. My days of waiting for the girl in the flatbed Ford are long over, however. But you never know. I'm waiting for the flatbed Ford. About halfway between Joseph City and Holbrook, Arizona is the Cholla Power Plant. This coal-fired power plant began operation in 1962 and is jointly owned by Arizona Public Service and Pacific Corp. The coal burned at the plant came mostly from a coal mine in New Mexico until the mine was closed in 2009 after its reserves were exhausted. In 2010, the EPA notified Cholla that pollution controls were needed for Units 2 through 4. As a result of the notification, Unit 2 was retired in 2016 as the cost to add pollution controls outweighed the benefits. The remaining units were to be either retired or converted to burn another fuel source by 2025. We are now passing a portion of the Painted Desert, a badlands desert area composed of layers of siltstone, mudstone, and shale from the Triassic Chinle Formation. These rock layers were deposited at the beginning of the reign of the dinosaurs, about 225 million years ago, when the area was covered with wind-blown sand dunes and rivers flowing into large bodies of standing water. Very different than the environment you see around you today. The Painted Desert was named by the Coronado expedition in 1540 while on their quest to find the 7 cities of gold. The southern portion of the Painted Desert lies within Petrified Forest National Park, a park known for its fossils, especially fallen trees. About 60 million years ago, the Colorado Plateau was pushed upward, eroding and removing the rock layers above the Chinle, exposing petrified logs, ferns, cycads, large amphibians, and early dinosaurs. The park's earliest human inhabitants arrived 13,000 years ago. By about 2,500 years ago, ancestral Puebloan farmers were growing corn and living in subterranean pit houses. By 1,000 years ago, these early farmers moved to above-ground pueblos, and by 1450, a vast majority of people living in the area had migrated to join rapidly growing communities on the Hopi Mesas to the northwest and the Pueblo of Zuni to the east. More than 1,000 archaeological sites, including petroglyphs, have been discovered in the park. Wind and water continue to change this landscape, exposing never-before-seen layers with new fossils being uncovered constantly. Wait for it. Welcome to New Mexico. We have entered the land of enchantment. At this point, we have traveled about 350 miles on our quest to find the infamous left-hand turn at Albuquerque to get us on our way to Colorado Springs. New Mexico was admitted to the Union and became the 47th state in 1912. New Mexico's largest city is Albuquerque, with a population of about 1 million people. The capital of Santa Fe is the oldest state capital in the United States, being founded in 1610. The state bird is the greater roadrunner, the state flower is the yucca, and the state insect is the Tarantula hawk wasp. What an awesome state insect. Most importantly, the state fossil is the Celophysis, a small, slender-built, ground-dwelling carnivore dinosaur that grew up to 10 feet long. Sometime after crossing the state line into New Mexico, we enter Gallup, New Mexico, the most populous city between Flagstaff and Albuquerque. Gallup was founded in 1881 as a railhead for the Atlantic and Pacific Railroad. The city was named after David Gallup, a paymaster for the Atlantic and Pacific Railroad. Because of the nearby rugged terrain, Gallup was a popular location in the 1940s and 1950s for Hollywood westerns. During this Western movie heyday, Gallup hosted many movie stars, including John Wayne, Ronald Reagan, Humphrey Bogart, Spencer Tracy, Katharine Hepburn, Joan Crawford, Kirk Douglas, Doris Day, Gregory Peck, and Burt Lancaster. We are finally crossing the actual Continental Divide and are on the eastern side, meaning all the natural drainage systems naturally flow eastward. The Continental Divide is known as the Great Divide in North America and runs from the western tip of the Seward Peninsula in Alaska through western Canada, along the crest of the Rocky Mountains to New Mexico. From there, it follows the crest of Mexico's Sierra Madre Occidental and extends to the tip of South America. Every continent on Earth except Antarctica, which has no known significant definable free-flowing surface rivers, has at least one continental drainage divide. In the distance is Mount Taylor, a dormant stratovolcano. It marks the high point of the San Mateo Mountains. Mount Taylor is part of the Mount Taylor volcanic field. It was active between 4.3 to 1.5 million years ago and is surrounded by a field of smaller inactive volcanoes. Mount Taylor is sacred to the pueblos of Acoma, Laguna, and Zuni and the Hopi and Navajo people. Mount Taylor is one of the 4 sacred mountains marking the cardinal directions and the boundaries of the traditional Navajo homeland. Approaching Grants, New Mexico, we are greeted with what looks like fresh lava flows, much like what you would see in Hawaii today. These lava flows and cinder cones are part of the Zuni Bandera volcanic field, the second largest volcanic field in the Basin and Range province of the United States. This volcanically active area is located on the southeast margin of the Colorado Plateau. The rugged Pohoihoi and A'a lava flows of the Zuni Bandera eruptions, also called the Grants lava flows, filled a large basin created by faulting associated with the Rio Grande Rift. Volcanic vents associated with these flows include Bandera Crater, El Calderon, and more than a dozen older cinder cones which follow a roughly north-south trend. There are many areas along our route where Interstate 40 crosses this lava flow field. Getting closer to Albuquerque, the Sandia Mountains come into view. The Sandias are a small fault block range and part of the Basin Range province. The Sandias were uplifted in the last 10 million years and form the eastern boundary of the Albuquerque Basin. The core of the mountain range consists of 1.5 billion-year-old Sandia granite. Potassium feldspar crystals in the Sandia granite give the mountains their distinctive pink color. The Sandias are the highest mountain range in the immediate vicinity. They have 2 major summits, Sandia Crest and South Sandia Peak. The range measures approximately 17 miles north to south with a width from 4 to 8 miles east to west. The Sandia Mountains are also home to the world's second longest tramway, the Sandia Peak Tramway, which is 2.7 miles long with a rise of over 4,000 feet. After traveling nearly 600 miles, we are nearing the outskirts of Albuquerque, New Mexico. Make sure you keep your eyes peeled for that pesky left-hand turn so often missed by Bugs Bunny and Company. Albuquerque was founded in 1706 and named in honor of the 10th Duke of Albuquerque and Viceroy of New Spain. It served as an outpost linking Mexico City to the northernmost territories of New Spain. After gaining independence in 1821, Mexico established a military presence here. The town of Albuquerque was built in the traditional Spanish pattern, a central plaza surrounded by government buildings, homes, and a church. It is referred to as Old Town. After the New Mexico Territory became a part of the United States in the mid-19th century, a federal garrison and quartermaster depot, the Post of Albuquerque, was constructed. The establishment of Kirtland Air Base in 1939, Sandia Base in the early 1940s, and Sandia National Laboratories in 1949 would make Albuquerque a key player of the atomic age. However, not without negative consequences. On May 22, 1957, a B-36 accidentally dropped a nuclear bomb 4.5 miles from the control tower while landing at Kirtland Air Force Base. Only the conventional trigger detonated as the bomb was unarmed. The incident was not reported to the public as it was classified as secret for decades. Today, Albuquerque is a hub for technology, fine arts, and media companies. All right, did we miss that left-hand turn yet? This is where we leave Interstate 40 and merge onto Interstate 25, which will take us to our final destination of Colorado Springs in Colorado. Well, it's been almost a 600-mile day today. So we left the Colorado River area and we made it as far as Albuquerque, New Mexico on the first day. We're going to go from Albuquerque all the way to Colorado Springs tomorrow. So we have checked in for the night. We've done dinner. We've got the car ready. It's all gassed up, ready to go for tomorrow's adventure. So I hope you come along and we will catch you tomorrow.